to Beyond the Grind.
Let's talk about it. We should start this episode off with this quote that I heard.
Okay.
The quote said that most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit.
Where did you hear that one? That was
in
decent.
my learnings.
In your learnings, yes. In the learning boost. That one was good.
Yes.
Wow.
That's been sticking with me. I heard it a couple days ago, but it really resonated yesterday. And it took me down a path of similar to a Bible scripture.
Okay.
The one where it talks about if the people have no vision,
they would perish or something like that.
They would perish. So I thought about that. And I thought about loved ones that I've lost. And essentially I don't want to use the word categorizing them, but I noticed that those individuals that really don't have a direction, they're not even aiming high to miss or even aiming low to hit. They're just not aiming at all. So I thought about it. And I thought about these different jobs that people work. I'm sure you worked at jobs where you had a manager that just was a terrible boss.
Yeah.
And everybody in the whole company was looking for a job. And the manager didn't know.
That is true.
Where there's no vision, the people will perish. So then I took this thought process as I've been driving, and I see homeless people outside. Some of them with a sign. And then my judgmental mind says, well, they're dressed nice.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Some of them have a book bag that's better than my book bag.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So then I started to dive in on what they had written on their board. I don't know how they still find these brown boards.
In the permanent marker.
Yeah, the permanent marker. And then I looked at the handwriting, and the handwriting was neat. And it took me down the path of, again, this thought, like where the people have no vision, they will perish. So then I circled back in and I said, okay, if you have friends or family members that essentially are walking through life, we all have them in our family, or we all know them, and we see them and they're just traveling along. It's like, hey, where are you working at now? I'm still looking for a job.
Yes.
Or you got those friends that say, I'm going to start me a business tomorrow. And when you see them again, it's like,
the next time.
Yeah.
The next time, yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you're like reading about them. Like something has happened. They passed on. So it took me to the position where I said, I don't want to be one of those people that aim high and miss or not aim at all. I want to be one of those people that are a contributor to this world, because then I heard another quote that said that in life, you got to die to leave here. You can't get out alive.
That is true.
Let's talk about it.
Though I don't know, the quote is phenomenal. I don't know if it's really bad to have high expectations. I think you should have real expectations, but having higher expectations allows you to always reach and never get stagnant, right?
Yes.
And it always allows you to reevaluate what you could do better. I think staying in your comfort zone is not like having really low expectations, because you're a person who, to me, never wants to hear the criticism of failure. And you need failure to have success. It's like you always,
Yes, Michael Jordan said something similar to that.
Yeah, so I know personally for me, it's a tricky slope, because when you have a perfectionist quality about yourself and you have these high expectations, sometimes, I know for me, I mismanage and I spread myself so thin where my expectations for that day or for what I want is not always realistic.
Okay.
So I do think you have to make sure that the goals that you're planning are also realistic and obtainable, but that are challenging you.
Right.
And the ones that to me just don't want to try have already failed. But I don't know. Yeah,
you didn't drop the mic.
Right, because what was it? The SATs, right?
Jay-Z said to try and to fail is the two things I hate.
Listen, there you go with your music quote. No, but music, hey, that it tells a story. But no, for real, if you think about SATs, if you just sat there and you didn't write anything on your paper, then they wouldn't say like, oh, okay, well, next time that you didn't pass or fail. It was like you failed because you didn't try.
You never started.
And I always, even with homeschooling my children, I tell them all the time, especially with something new, you're going to get it wrong. Right. Have that expectation. My problem is when you don't try. That's with any relationship, with any human. If I'm saying, I need you to do this or whatever, my problem isn't that you attempt it and failed. It's when there's no attempt, no trying. Because when you don't try, you have already failed because there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to critique. You didn't do anything. You just stayed there.
We're talking about fear. Because that's
being paralyzed by fear, which we can't do that.
A state of mental paralysis.
That's the title.
Yes. You said it.
No, you said it. A state of mental paralysis. There you go. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
I heard someone say, if fear is waiting to attack you, you have to attack fear first.
You do. You should always, what is that? Hold on. You should always be on is that offense?
The defense.
The defense. Okay. Shoot. I knew it. I'm trying to get sports in there.
Look at it, but you still, I knew
it was one of the roles. But yeah, you always have to be in a position of, okay, I think the other couple of episodes ago, we talked about triggers.
Yes. Yep.
And it's almost knowing like what your trigger is of, okay, if I go down that road right there, that's going to make me feel like I'm going to fail or whatever. And if you already have a plan set in place for when those pitfalls and obstacles come, you can still keep your momentum. Right. And still keep going. And a lot of times we stop at obstacles. And we park, do the keys and throw them out the door.
Yep.
Because it's like you said, fear of think about business, right?
What do they call it? False evidence appearing real.
Yes. And if you think about even real estate, it could have been the fear that stopped us when the market changed. Right. And we're still having to invest in all these fees and people not realizing that every day we wake up unemployed until we go to
find a job.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So the fear of like, oh my God, am I investing too much of my money that I don't already have?
Right.
Like, imagine if we allowed that to stop us. You know how many lives that you bless because you push beyond that fear, especially you starting a whole brokerage named after you. Hey, contact Barksdale. It's Realty. If you have any real estate needs in Delaware. But no, for real. Like, If I allowed fear to paralyze me, I would have never birthed any 3 of my children. Because that would have been too, like, the idea of doing all that is fearful. Like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And a lot of times fear is the unknown.
Yes.
So.
That's deep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what you was just talking about. It goes back to, I'm so driven about this philosophy of like not having a vision. Because again, some of those people obviously don't have a vision because they're afraid.
Yeah.
Or like you said, they never start. But then I look on the other side of the coin where I look at the people which I commend those individuals that, like I got one friend, like he always has some type of new thing.
Okay.
It's like, oh, this cryptocurrency is out.
He got a new vision.
Yeah, a new vision over and over again. And everybody look at him like, oh, you crazy. But then, it's times where he put on the internet, he was like, yeah, I'm at settlement. And he bought a big house, and it's like, when we look at our vision about things, the one thing I'm coming to learn in life is that like your vision consistently changes like over and over and over.
It should.
Let's talk about it.
Because that's growth. In life, right?
Yes.
You're either growing or dying. There's nothing that stays the same.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like when you are not reevaluating your visions, because the same visions that I had as an 18-year-old should not be the same visions that I have as a 33-year-old. Like something should have changed in that time. Like it should still keep moving. And matter of fact, it should be elevating. Yes. It shouldn't even be like lateral. It should be like lateral. But yeah. It should listen here. But no, I should always be elevating my visions because it should be matching my stage and my age. And I think that if you don't execute that first plan that you had, you'll never plan bigger because you're still back on that other one. So a lot of times it has to do with like the people who lack vision. Is it that they lack vision or they never executed their first plan?
So basically what you're saying is they could have possibly never created a business plan for their life.
Yeah, and they never executed anything to now want more. And it, you know what I'm saying? Like once you get to your first goal, it's like, all right, okay, for people who are athletes and what is it, the racing, and you get to your first, like if you're doing like a long marathon, when you get those little markers and you're like, all right, I made it past that marker. All right, let me keep going. Right. You go to the next one. Some people have never given themselves markers to get there. And because of whatever setbacks, they've never got to that first one. So for us, it's looking like, Dad, they don't want nothing in their lives. Right. They just haven't even gotten to the first marker to even want to get to the next one.
Yeah, kind of like when your mom and them drew the height line on the wall for you. It's like, oh, you got this tall. And then you got that tall. But I never really even thought about it like that. I never really thought about like people actually setting like markers for their life. But dude, I then also understand that all that we have currently is a projection from our subconscious mind that allowed us to obtain it. And in order to get further than that, we have to change our thinking.
I think we have to change our thinking. What's crazy is, no lie, I had a conversation with someone this week, and we were talking about like in times now because of social media, all you see is a lot of posting of the triumphs, right? And so by the time you're gauging whether you're a failure in life or like you are someone who like is making their mark in life based off of what you have accomplished, right? Because of what we see, we're seeing all these accomplishments. So by the time you're not accomplishing your own goals, it's like, dang, like I'm not doing nothing with my life. Right. I do think it's important when you're setting goals to be comfortable with not always getting to your goal the time that you maybe thought that you were going to get there. And learning to sometimes we have to divert our plans because it was never meant to be that. It was always that should have led us to a different direction. For instance, I had a client who I've been showing houses for. We've been putting offers in, and like I've been hitting the pavement. Like we've been working real hard, right? But through discussion, you find out that this client is actually educated and talented in a different area. So I'm like, maybe meeting him wasn't to ever help him purchase a home. It probably was to be for this next venture that I have my mind set for.
Yeah, I'm a believer of that. Like everybody that comes along in your path is it's a purpose for it.
Exactly.
Even if it's a short-term purpose, sometimes it's a long-term. Did you get the quote I sent you earlier?
No, you sent
what? Oh, it was beautiful. I sent it to your Instagram.
Oh,
but I'll give you a snapshot of it.
Yeah, please do.
Essentially, it was talking about the metaphorical state of a tree, a root, the roots of a tree, and leaves, and it was putting that as people, and it was saying some people are going to be like leaves. They're just there until things start shaking up with you, and then they're gone. Some people are going to be like branches. You're going to have a strong relationship with them, but if the wind blow too hard or something, the branch break, then they're going to be gone. But then you have the root people. Those are the people that's going to be there with you forever.
Yeah.
And as you know, the roots keep growing.
I like that one.
Somebody dropped the mic.
That one was good.
I said, whoa.
I love my little stories. That was a good story. No, but you know what? When you think about it, that is 100% right. And sometimes those leaves are to go away and plant new, like spread its, like pollinate other areas. But a lot of setting goals and executing visions have to be, I personally think has to do with being comfortable with with not always getting it right the first time.
Agreed.
Like, you have to be comfortable in the state of knowing, like, I'm not going to always get it right. And knowing that you didn't always do the right thing, because you have to always be able to reevaluate to get it better.
Right.
And then pass it on for someone else to make it better. You know, so.
But we also must understand, like, just like the Bible said, there's a season for it. There's a season for, like, everything. It's like we see the trees change, the grass color changes. When our opportunity presents itself, as we talked about before, it's going to be too late to work on our resume. I think it's very important not to be one of those people that don't have a vision, because when you're then starting to finally work on your resume, your season could have passed.
Exactly. I think, but more than even talking about people who don't have the vision, I personally think what people are looking for is how. So we're saying we're given the back facts of why.
Yes.
But now, honestly, a lot of times there's a lot of different podcasts, and you hear a lot of platforms that are always talking about the why.
Right.
Because. No one says now how. So for a person who doesn't even know where to start in life, because I say there wasn't anybody in their sphere of influence who has that they are aware of, because there's always somebody that God will place to, whether it's a teacher or whatever, but it's someone who they're not aware of and they don't even realize it. Like, how do they get started with visions? Like, where do they start with their visions to execute?
Everybody needs help. And again, like we talked about before with the internet, you can pretty much talk to anybody that you want to talk to. I mean, there's different individuals that will, be advisors. I even heard that if you don't have a companion, there's somebody that'll talk to you across the internet.
That's creepy.
But it's true though. I mean, some people are lonely. So I mean, and like starting, I think it's just, again, maybe we can bring somebody else on here that can talk about these different platforms, because I know a lot of people had questions about, different things, not even just real estate questions, but they had business questions. And I think you got to find the resources. Usually every Saturday, if I'm not like showing a house at this time, and I try not to schedule showings during this time because this place is historic to me. But it's the one place that's, and you don't really hear this word anymore.
Okay.
Free.
Amen.
Free. Free.
Yes.
It's the one place that's free that nobody wants to go to anymore.
I know what you're going to say.
And I heard a speaker once say, if you wanted to hide something from someone, put it inside of a book.
No, that's sad. That is so sad.
So this place that I'm talking about
has a bunch of books.
Has a whole bunch of books.
I'm about to look through to find the secrets.
And they got computers now. They have a play area for kids. And they have all the knowledge that you want to find about anything that you want to know.
It's free.
And it's free.
Yeah.
So when we talk about how this place is called the library, every state has one.
Yeah. Wow.
Every county has one. Every community has one. We go there on Saturdays and we take the kids before we go out to eat. And we pick out different books. And a lot of times the books are being read while we're in there. Like, oh, you remember this book? You remember this? And look at this. Look at this encyclopedia. There's puzzles and different things that you just kind of just blow my mind. There's a 3D printer in the library now. So if you imagine,
seriously,
you have to go.
I promise. As you're talking, I'm like, next trip is to the library.
Oh, it's a wonderful experience.
No, for real.
So what we have been doing is just going to different libraries. So we went to one in a bigger area because it was a larger library last week. Not only that, you get to see like the diversification of people. And nobody's on their cell phone. Everybody's interacting with each other. Somebody bumps into you, they say, oh, excuse me.
That sounds like a cool place.
That's what I said too.
It's like a cool place. And it's free.
And it's free.
Yeah, wow.
You can't talk loud.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be quiet. They have puzzles. They have chess boards. They have seashells that you can look in with a magnifying glass.
Really?
And you can have a one-on-one time with your loved one.
Yeah. You know what? You said something without even realizing that you said something. The first thing to do is to seek.
The verse is, knock and the door shall be open.
Yes, seek and you shall find. So it's like genuinely like, if you feel lost, like, dang, a lot of people are like, I don't even know my purpose. I don't know what I want to do in life. Seek information.
Yes.
Because sometimes we are so complacent where we're just sitting around waiting for it to be delivered to us.
Mm-hmm.
And life, it'll deliver you something, and most times it ain't gonna be good.
Right.
It's the bad stuff that gets free delivery.
Yes.
You have to seek it, and when you seek it, I feel like you appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm.
When you go out your way and you make time to go look for something,
mm-hmm.
you value that because
yes.
you put energy into that. Versus sometimes when it's just given to you. So the first thing to do is to seek. If you want to change how to, learn to do a new trait of like fixing your car or whatever,
mm-hmm.
seek some information.
Yes.
And then honestly, touch paper.
Yes.
Like when I read my books,
mm-hmm.
I like books. I like touching paper and
mm-hmm.
I like turning pages. I like writing my notes. Like I want to feel it. That whole internet stuff, sometimes it's an easy distraction because then you can get a notification that pops up and then you're already diverted. So the first thing for visions is to seek some knowledge so you can now figure out, what is my vision? Like,
mm-hmm.
what can I do better and how can I do it better? Because they have a bunch of book for dummies, like how to, like, mm-hmm. that's actually the name of the thing. I'm not calling anybody a dummy.
No, and when you're seeking, like a lot of times you find additional things, mm-hmm. like you find additional interests. You learn things that like you didn't know. Mm-hmm. I was listening to someone this weekend, and they were talking about somebody who works really hard for their money mm-hmm. versus somebody that hits the lottery. So I'm piggybacking off of what you was just saying. When the person hits the lottery, 9 out of 10 within 5 years they lose the money mm-hmm. because they don't know the value of what it is that they just acquired mm-hmm. versus them seeking it out. For example, you seek out your career path. You say, okay, I want to become a realtor. And you take all these continuing education classes. Mm-hmm. You have ups and downs. Somebody's supposed to buy a house. They could pass away. That automatically terminates a contract. Mm-hmm. Somebody finds a house. They will get a home inspection. There's all these problems. The deal falls through. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of emotional ups and downs with being a realtor.
It is.
And it's the same ones that your clients have because they fall in love with the house. Mm-hmm. They have an issue. So it's like ups and downs. So then when you finally do have a successful transaction that goes through and you acquire your money, you don't just want to blow it.
Nope.
On cars and bikes and all. You're like, you have a full crystallized understanding of what you just went through mm-hmm. to earn this money. Because obviously, most times as a realtor, it takes 30 days for you to actually get paid.
Exactly.
So when you work harder for something, you seek it out, you then find it, you educate yourself about it, and then you become the foremost expert on it, or you get compensated for it, even mm-hmm. if you aren't the foremost expert on it. You're entry level, but learning mm-hmm. it. You don't want to just blow it versus like somebody that just hits the lotto. They didn't put any skin in the game.
It's value to seek, and even on like the most basic level, right? Mm-hmm. Think of a meal that you eat.
Yes.
I know personally
collard
for
greens,
me,
mashed potatoes.
Stop! Actually, I'm a little hungry though. I didn't eat breakfast yet. I mean, no, it's like don't get me going unless you're hear my stomach like.
Man, I want some turkey right now too.
Really, some smothered turkey and gravy. In a roll.
Oh man.
And, yeah.
The little small rolls.
Yeah, my mom makes homemade yeast rolls. They are.
Oh, with the butter on it?
Yes.
Oh.
I've been churning my own butter. Both. I've been making my own butter.
It's hard to do that.
No, not in a mixer. Maybe back in the day when you go to make this. Okay. No, but I got a mixer. But when I'm cooking a meal, like I can enjoy eating out fast food. But yes. I don't because I don't like fast food. But mm-hmm. restaurant food is my fast food. Yes. And I can enjoy a meal, right? Mm-hmm. There's no better enjoyment than me cooking my own meal. The process, of seeking out a new recipe. It's easy when it just comes and it tastes good. Like, oh, okay, that was good. But there's something that gets me going, gets my fancy going when I prepared a meal and it's not even just enough for me.
Ooh.
Like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like when it's nothing like when you get a vision and you execute your vision and it's so fruitful that it benefits more than just you.
You said something. That's our life.
That should,
as people.
It should be our lives. It should be our goals to know that whatever I'm doing, whatever goals I'm setting, I don't want it to be limited to just me being the benefit of that. I want it, who else can benefit from that? And I feel like that's how you know that you have the right goal.
You walking in your purpose.
There you go. You're walking in your purpose.
You walking in your purpose.
That's a purposeful goal.
Yeah. We talked about where it was said that a job is what you are paid for, but your gift is what you were made for.
Yeah.
So that's when you are walking in your purpose, when you're alive and fruitful to all those around you, not even just your immediate family. And that doesn't just have to come in the form of compensation.
Exactly. There's other types of value other than, like you said, compensation.
Yeah, it's value. You know, like you could say one kind word to someone that's not even your kid that they can carry with them forever.
Yeah.
There's a quote on my wall here. A lady gave it to me when I was representing her son to buy a house. And I told her that I had some future plans. And she wrote, if the challenge is too big, your God is too small. And she gave that to me 20 years ago.
And you still have it. And it's written like in just
what was around her at the time.
But that is so true. I remember in high school, shout out to Hudson Voltech. And you remember the principal, Mr. Allen?
Yes.
I remember where, like, he called me into his office one time and he was like, I just want to tell you that you have a smile that can change the world.
Wow.
Like, don't stop your smile. And I don't know, that always resonated with me. And it wasn't like the fact that he's saying my smile, but it just always made me remember that no matter, Nicole, what you're going through, you given the interaction with somebody, like you said, it doesn't always have to be compensation, but a smile, a hello. That's how I birthed the kindness is free, no matter the budget thing. Yes. Because it's like that within my day, I always, when I go back, I'm like, okay, did I interact with someone where I could have changed their tomorrow?
Yes.
Did I do something today that could have changed their tomorrow? And then I was like, okay, I feel like I did something. And if I didn't, Nicole, do better. I have a question for you. What about a person who knows their goals, knows their vision, but they get knocked off? How do you get started again? How do you, when you get knocked off that bike and you get hurt from it, how do you start?
I'm thinking about the quote that I was just telling you about. I heard today about the leaves, the branches, and the roots. So the way you get started, in my opinion, there's two ways. You got to have some root people around you. That when you get knocked down, those are going to be the people that look at you realistically and they're going to tell you who you are. They'll say, hey, you got to get back up. Like, I've had it a lot of times. I've had frustrations. I've had disappointments. I had losses. I had times where I had, great wins, and I was always consistently told, always remain humble through it all. The same people you see going up the ladder will be the same one you see coming down the ladder. All those things. And unless you got root people around you, it's going to be very hard. And the second thing I can say is you have to have an external connection with a higher being.
I agree.
You have to. Because you're going to have faith. Faith is the ability to see something, to believe in something that you cannot physically see. So you're going to have that, because it's going to be some conversations that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson said it, staring at the man in the mirror. A lot of times we have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, and you got to pick yourself up.
Yeah.
You got to go.
Yeah.
So I think with saying that, the two things I got to say to that is you got to have some root people, but in addition to that, you got to have faith.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be disappointments, but you got to be able to just look yourself in the mirror, connect with your higher being, reach out to your root people, and find inspiration around you. Like you got to consistently
feed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy is I think in life we get so confused with the people who are roots and the people who are weeds, because weeds keep growing back. You know, so sometimes we don't know what category to put people in, and it's like that goes back to assessing character and believing what you see.
Yes.
Like like I said, don't always gauge a person's character on how they treat you. Do it just how they treat others. Like that's the best assessment.
Whew. You just added a new quote to their quote.
I know, right?
You didn't call them weed people.
Weed.
I thought you was talking about 420.
Oh my gosh, yes, now it's legal. Now I have 421 drug test. But no,
I stayed off the road because
I know
2 days ago I was like, man, it's probably gonna be bad out here.
Right, these people were probably so happy. Surprisingly, I didn't smell anything. You know how like you would think you smell a bunch of skunk. Yeah. Like, oh, y'all doing good now. Thank you.
Y'all doing good.
Y'all doing good. But no, like honestly, I know for me, I have gone through parts of my life of thanking people who were supposed to be there to help, you know, because the roots pull from the nutrients.
Yes.
So it's going to fuel me as the tree, right? Whereas the weeds, like they just attaching and just muffing up stuff.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I found out who I really was and that's how the determining factor to me on who your root people are.
Well, let's talk about that. How does one find out who they are?
Wow. Okay. It took a lot of for me answering to God. He's my higher power. Really, it's easy for me to compare myself against the person who's not as good as me. But when I compare myself against God, then I truly see me.
Ooh.
So,
we don't got enough mics to drop for that one.
I know, right? It's when you take your reality dose of you're not as great as you think you are. You failed in this area, but through me you can be better. And it took a lot of healing and acknowledging the fact of I have to be comfortable with me, and I have to authentically be me in spite of you. And I'm not even talking about enemies. Sometimes we put the pressure on ourselves to carry out the dreams of our loved ones. And those are burdens that you shouldn't have to take, and all of those things. And it's no, God gave each person their own life. I have to live a life that I'm content with. I have to live a life that makes God pleased with my actions outside of what I think that you would be happy, with me doing, or outside of you were my enemy and you want worse for me. Because how some people are vengeance, success is the best vengeance. No, let none of that be your factors, and literally go deep within yourself, heal yourself to realize you're comfortable with you.
Yes.
And then you can find your purpose. Okay, then you start discovering, okay, what is my purpose?
Wow. Somebody once said God's gift to you as a human being is by giving you life. And your gift to God is by walking in your purpose.
Oh, that's poetic. That's beautiful.
Whew.
But that is true. If you had a lot more purpose-driven people, right? You would realize that a lot more goals will be executed, and they wouldn't also always have to be on the same level as the next person, because you're not comparing yourself to the next person else. You're being your best you. You're envisioning your best you, and every day when you don't feel like it, you're showing up as that person. Because we're all gonna have days where we're but no, envision who who you're supposed to be,
right,
and just show up. It's almost I don't want to say put a mask on, but in a sense in life you have to wear your mask.
Yes.
But there should be a group of people where you are authentically you, and you can take all the makeup off and they just see you for who you are, right?
Yes.
You're just raw dogging it.
Just
so everyone has to have that in life, but when it comes to visions, I think visions and purposes and dreams all to me like go together.
And like you just said, like show up.
And show up as that.
Chuck, who was a good friend of mine, and obviously he just passed away. We did a lot of presentations at the Boys and Girls Club, different places here in Delaware.
Yeah.
And it was a group of kids in the room one day, and they asked him the question. He was like, well, how do we get started and all that? He said, just show up.
Just show up.
Like, just show up. My closing quote today is, live full and die empty.
There you go. That's it. Nothing else said. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
Let's talk about it.